Hey guys, it's Eternal Hokage. Welcome to my Boruto episode 45 review. Now, before I start, I want to say a couple of things. So, in case you're not interested, I'm gonna have a certain time on screen right now which shows when the actual review starts, just in case you're not interested. So, first of all, I would like to say hello to Manu. Most of you don't know what I'm referring to, but it's one person. She will know that this was meant to be for her. Anyway, second thing I'd like to say is that recently over on Twitter, one of my subscribers sent me an intro made for me, and first of all, I want to play it. Intro is amazing. The editing is nice. The music is nice, and I really want to thank this dude for making this amazing intro. I just had to include it in a video because this means a lot to me. Because after all, I'm just a regular dude who talks about Boruto, and for me to get something this amazing from somebody, it really feels good. So, bro, thank you from the bottom of my heart. And without further ado, let's get into Boruto episode 45 review. To be 100% honest with you, this episode was bullcrap. Of course, I'm joking. This is one of the best episodes of the Boruto series, hands down. You got trolled, but seriously though, is there anybody who didn't like this episode? Like, it was amazing. On the 25th of July, I did a video titled Boruto Needs This, and in this video, I basically talked about how, how Boruto needs, to have some character with a tragic backstory that will, make him bond with us, some like really, really impactful backstory. You could argue that the writers tried to do it with Kagura. Most of the people, including myself, think that his character was written very poorly, and that arc, the Hidden Mist arc, overall wasn't that great. But this arc, the Byakuya Gang arc, has a lot of potential, and it's building up to be this memorable arc. In my opinion, like, this was like the third episode of the arc. The first episode was the setup episode. It was pretty much perfect in my opinion. The second episode was a bit redundant again in my opinion, and this third episode just blew my mind. It was amazing. I want to get this thing out of the way. I keep repeating it over the past couple of weeks, but as long as Boruto as a series does this, I'm gonna keep saying it. The soundtrack is fucking gorgeous, pretty much perfect, beautiful. I don't know how to describe it, and it really enhances the experience of watching the episode. So yeah, now this episode focuses heavily on Ryogi and on his backstory. Since I covered the Boruto spoilers a couple of days ago, I knew that this episode was going to be focused on him. And to be honest, at the end of the 44th episode, we got the short 30-second clip, like the preview. So yeah, we were all expecting something huge from Ryogi, like in terms of his backstory, and we got it. Basically, you saw it. His father was killed, and his mom was killed in front of his eyes, which is really, really tragic. And I'm kind of surprised that he wasn't affected even more by this. Obviously, he's affected, but sometimes when you see things like that, you can get even more fucked up. The best example is Sasuke. I mean, this is not same because Sasuke's entire family got murdered by his beloved brother, which is even more tragic. But I'm just saying, Ryogi is lucky to be only affected this little, in my honest opinion. Now, the name of the leader of the Byakuya gang was revealed in this episode. His name is Gecko. Now, this is, I mean, it's not even a theory, it's just a prediction that I'm having here. I think that it could be very possible that he was the one who either, manipulated that guy to kill Ryogi's father, or he, I think he could be somehow involved within the murder, because obviously Ryogi's father was working together with Gecko. and maybe they went, to some mission or something like that. And Gecko was like, "Hey, I want to steal from the rich and give them to the poor." Maybe Ryogi's father didn't want it to accept that, and this guy decided to kill him. I could be 100% wrong. I mean, Gecko said it himself in this episode that Ryogi's father worked with him, but Gecko is this manipulative person, and these people often tend to lie. So I really wonder if my prediction is correct. If Gecko was really involved within the murder of Ryogi's father. Yeah. Anyway, when the backstory of Ryogi was getting revealed, and later on when he was talking with Gecko, and when his parents were lying down next to him, and then he touched his mom or dad, whatever. I think he touched his mom. That was really emotional. I even teared up a little bit. Which is good, which is good. That's exactly what I was talking almost 7 months ago. Moments like this one where you can easily tear up. That's something a great shonen needs. And Boruto, in my opinion, like the month of January, the first mission of Boruto wasn't too great. No, it's not the best month for Boruto. For example, December and November. At that time, we had the graduation exam, the Mitsuki episode. The quality dropped a little bit, but with this Byakuya Gang arc, the quality just keeps rising. And I'd like to mention that at the start of the episode, there was like a TV program or whatever, and it was mentioned like somebody stated the tuning exams are getting closer. If you miss that, go to the episode. It's literally within the first 5 or 6 seconds. So I feel like Boruto, the real Boruto greatness is starting. I mean, it already started with the Byakuya Gang arc 2 episodes ago. The last episode 44, wasn't the best in my opinion, but it just keeps getting better. Going back to Ryogi's character, I really like the symbolism in this episode, which connected to the previous 2 episodes. I'm talking about the shogi piece called pawn or whatever. And in this episode, the term pawn was discussed about a couple of times. I mean, when Gecko was manipulating, Ryogi to join the Byakuya gang, he described the ninjas as pawns, I believe, or something like that, because they just protect those that they are, the people that they are told to protect, right? And then later on in this episode, obviously, as Ryogi was standing there reminiscing, thinking about his past, he was holding the shogi piece in his hand, I should say. And obviously, the best part was when Shikarai told him that you're just a pawn, when he was referring to him being in the Byakuya gang. And I will get to that scene in a moment because that scene was great. And anyway, in conclusion, I really liked how they connected, all this pawn discussions from the past 2 episodes as well. But I'm not going to talk about the past 2 episodes now. Now, I would like to obviously talk about probably the best part of this episode, which was the conversation between Shikarai and Ryogi. Now, before I get into analyzing anything, I just want to say this. When Ryogi showed that lamp or whatever, and then Shikarai was like, this thing was stolen. And then Ryogi was like, he was surprised. He was like, what the fuck? And then he was like, how did I fall for a cheap trick like this one? This is how I saw it. I could be wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. But that lamp wasn't stolen. It's just, Shikadai tried to trick him to see his reaction. That's how I saw it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe this lamp was really stolen. And, Shikadai just realized that, hey, you stole this lamp. But I feel like Shikadai did it so he could test Ryogi. And Ryogi fell for it. Because otherwise, why would Ryogi say, how did I fall for such a cheap trick? Anyway, if my theory or my speculation is correct, this is some super awesome, smart writing from the Boruto writers, and I really, really enjoyed that moment of the episode. Now, obviously, Shikadai and Ryogi were playing shogi again. And, I really liked Shikadai's attitude when Ryogi came. He was sure that he was going to beat Ryogi. He was like, I practiced, I didn't waste my time. And when Ryogi was like, "Were you waiting for me?" Shikarai was like, don't get so confident," something like that. I've talked about this in my previous reviews. 2 episodes ago, Shikarai roasted the shit out of Boruto at the start of the episode. In the last episode, he told Mitsuki that he is weird, and now he's like, don't get confident. I wasn't waiting for you. It's just I'm really loving this roasting attitude that Shikadai has. Inojin also likes to roast, people. So two of the three members of the Inoshika trio really like to mess with people in a positive way, in a funny way. Of course, nothing. I'm not saying anything bad about these two characters, and of course, Shikarai and Ryogi had this conversation and they couldn't understand each other. I mean, Shikarai told them, "You should stop doing these things. Like, doesn't matter if you call yourself righteous thieves or whatever, you're still stealing." I mean, at the start of the episode, we saw that the Kaminarimon company, like, there are so many protests. From people, and Denki's company, like his father, they probably didn't do anything wrong, and this puts Denki in danger because the citizens are furious. They are manipulated by the actions of the Byakuya gang, and overall, this could, cause some conflict, some internal conflict, which Naruto-san and Shikamaru discussed about at the start of the episode. Now that I mentioned that moment, I really enjoyed these interactions. Like, every time Naruto, Shikamaru, and sometimes Sai, every time they interact, it's always really good. It's, like, written really well. And no, I'm not saying that because of nostalgia, because, these characters, I know them for many years. I genuinely think that these interactions feel very real, natural. They fit the characters. So yeah. Anyway, going back to the Ryogi Shikadai scene, obviously, I thought for a second that Ryogi was gonna try and do something bad to Shikadai, like injure him, but no, he just blocked his way and he left. He basically told Shikadai that he never takes anything seriously, and he just talks. He doesn't do anything. And on one side we have Shikadai, who believes that a couple of people can change the world. He doesn't take pretty much anything seriously, not literally, but just for the sake of the moment, like in this context, we're gonna say that. And then on the other side we have Ryogi with this tragic backstory, trying to change the world. He's manipulated by Gekko. He thinks that Gekko is like this father figure to him, even though it's obvious that Gekko is manipulating him, and Gekko potentially was involved within the murder of his dad. That's just a prediction I'm having. Hopefully this will get revealed, if that's the case, in the next couple of episodes. So, on one side Shikadai, on the other side Ryogi, having these interactions. Shikadai is screaming for him to stay. I mean, his voice cracked, and that really shows how emotional the entire scene is. So overall, I think this episode is generally one of the best episodes overall, and one of my favorite episodes of the Boruto series. So it is natural that it would get 10 out of 10 for me. I even like this episode more than the setup episode, which was episode 43, I believe. And in episode 43 review, I said how the setup episode was pretty much perfect. I had that Naruto Part 1 vibe. I also had that Naruto Part 1 vibe today. And the future looks good. This arc is going to be good. My favorite arc is the Sarada Uchiha arc. If this turns out to be as good as that one, you can definitely see this one being, my favorite alongside the Sarada Uchiha arc. The Sarada Uchiha arc is probably always going to be above this one in my eyes because of my subjectivity here, because Sarada is my second favorite Next Generation character. But honestly, this arc is wonderful. I can't wait for the Chunin exams to start. Less than 10 episodes until they start. And the material from the movie is going to be expanded upon. The third Otsutsuki member was confirmed. His name is Urashiki Otsutsuki. I did videos about him. So yeah, guys, the future is bright. That was your boy Hokage. Twitter and Discord links are in the description below. Thank you for watching, and remember, Boruto greatness.